So we're being asked to find all or at least one rational zero of this function and then use that fact to find all the zeros of this function. And I started off by making a list of possible rational zeros. So I took the numbers that went into the constant, and I knew those could be numerators. And then I took the numbers that went into lead coefficient, and those could be denominators. And I took every combination. I took 1 over both of these, I took 2 over both of these, and I knew it could be positive or negative. So that list is shown here. And since they're telling me that this has at least one rational zero, I know that at least one of these numbers is going to work with the synthetic division and give me a remainder of 0. Now, the one thing I do want to explain to you really quickly is why we're looking for a remainder of 0 is because that's what it means for something to be a factor. Like, for example, 4 is a factor of 32. And 4 is a factor of 32 because 4 divides 32 evenly. Well, to divide something evenly means the remainder is 0, you know. 8 is also a factor of 32 because 8 divides 32 evenly, meaning if you divide 32 by 8, the remainder will be 0. 7, however, is totally not a factor of 32 because if you take 32 and divide it by 7, there'll be some stuff left over. So we're going to do synthetic division and look for a remainder of 0, and then we're going to use that information to write. Oh, well, let's see how this plays out, actually. I started going in the wrong direction. So I'm going to use my way of writing it, which is to stack it. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to be dividing, so it's going to be a 3 for the x cubed, a -2, a -7, a -2, and on the outside I'm just doing a guess and check on one of these values, and it's literally a guess and check. I'm going to do synthetic division. If I get a remainder of 0, great. If I don't, I've got to try something else. So I'll try a 2. I'll drop this straight down. 2 times 3 makes 6. Add those make 4. These guys multiply to make 8. Add those to get 1. Though, look at my lucky guess. That was a lucky guess. If it did not work, I would just erase all this blue stuff and put a different number out here, maybe try a negative. But this one worked beautifully, and that tells me that this is a 0. 2 is a 0. If you take 2 and you plug it into here, you're going to get a 0 to pop out. And, not to mention, we're left with, this 3 was 3x cubed, so we're left with a 3x squared plus 4x plus 1. Now we're going to go ahead and find the zeros of this, but this is a quadratic. We have all kinds of ways to solve this. I'm going to kick this off though by trying to factor. So I need two things that multiply to make 3x squared. And then things that multiply to make 1, well, it's got to be 1 and 1. If this is in fact factorable. This gives x, this gives 3x, x and 3x combine to make 4x, so this is cool. They're both positive. I want to know when these equal 0. And now I'll go ahead and take each part of this and set each part equal to 0. So maybe 3x plus 1 equals 0. That means 3x equals -1/3. I'm sorry, that means 3x equals -1. That means x equals -1/3. So that's a 0 of the function. Oh, look at that. It's also in my list. And this guy's got to be set equal to 0. And you can look at that and know that x equals -1, which again, that's a rational 0, and it's also in my list. So, you know, that's kind of cool. The final answers are x equals -1, 2, -1/3. Those are all the zeros of this function, meaning these are the numbers that when plugged into here, spit 0 out. And, not surprising at all three are in the lists that we made that said if it has rational 0, it will be in this list. I do want to point out though, any of these other ones that I might have guessed, they wouldn't have worked, right? So if I kick this guess off with like a +1 instead of a +2, I would not have had a 0 here, and that would have told me, hey, your guess is wrong, try something else. I just happened to get lucky with my first guess. I'll also say if you did this problem on your own, you might have kicked your guess off with this. Maybe you start off with a -1. That would change all these blue numbers to something else. They'd be totally different. But whatever equation they made you come up with, if this is the first one you got that worked, the equation you ended up with here, these would have been the answer. So, I mean, these are the answers, and that's all there is to it. So good luck with that. This is one of those things where if you watch your signs, set your problems up correctly and carefully, and expect to make some mistakes if you rush. But if you take your time, you'll figure it out. Be patient with yourself. Good luck.